Hey there, everyone. Welcome to, I don't know what today is, day 21 of our 90-day challenge together. Say hello to my dog. She loves to go for rides. Of course, what dog doesn't? She thinks she's going to school and she's getting smarter. So every day she tells me when it's time to head to school. So here we are at school. She's getting smarter just by sitting there and absorbing it all. Yesterday and the day before, I talked about core values and bringing our core values into these moments of vulnerability. And I want to talk about, I'm leading to belonging, and I thought today was the belonging chat, but it's not. I think that's tomorrow or maybe even the day after. Today I want to talk about those core values and how we bring our individual core values into conversation, especially those difficult conversations that I talk about all the time that we have to have, right? We have to have these difficult conversations from time to time with our children, with our partners, with people at work, with neighbors. It's just a fact of life. And the need to have a difficult conversation can feel pretty vulnerable from the start, right? So we're already feeling something because there's this need here to have this conversation. So let me ask you this. If you're in a difficult conversation, are you considering those core values we talked about? The same ones, those top 5 or handful of core values that you wrote down on a piece of paper earlier this week and maybe took into these vulnerable moments with you. Are you considering those values inside these difficult conversations? Here's where I'm going with this. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that if you're here, you probably did not write down, I have to be right all the time as one of your top core values. Right? Maybe you wrote down integrity. Maybe you wrote down communication. Communication's a really big value of mine. I highly value communication. I am very careful with my words and how I use them. And I'm pretty literal. There's very little with me that requires reading between the lines. I get bothered when people make assumptions based on things I say because I go back and I'm like, no, I literally said this and I literally meant that. But I'm also human, so I certainly make errors from time to time. I certainly make mistakes from time to time, especially in communication. But communication is one of those top things for me. So in these difficult conversations, even though communication is a top value of mine, I still have to have these difficult conversations from time to time. And I value them so much because they tend to take us, these relationships, especially from one point that might be challenging or troublesome to the next place we need to be. And I think many relationships get stuck in the space of not having those difficult conversations. So I can tell you that for me, I did not write down, my dog is growling because there's the dog in the parking lot. Other dogs should not exist unless they're like on a play date or something. I did not write down Stella needs to be right all the time as one of my top values. So when I'm going into one of these difficult conversations, no matter who it's with, I have to keep that in mind. Being right is not one of my core values. Integrity is, respect is, accountability, responsibility, those are, right? Active listening, inclusiveness, that's, more than a handful, but those kind of line up my values. And so when I go into these difficult conversations, I want to keep those things in mind. Am I showing integrity? Am I being respectful? Am I getting respect back? Because I need to be respectful to myself as well, right? And make sure that the person or people I'm speaking to are also giving what's important to me in these conversations. So my challenge is always opt for the difficult conversation. It doesn't matter what the closure is. And I hate that word. I think I said that earlier. I really hate the word closure. It doesn't matter what the end result is. We don't necessarily have difficult conversations for happy resolution, but sometimes we have difficult conversations to close a door, to finish something, to tie loose ends, to talk about, our wins and our losses, and to cut our losses. Difficult conversations don't always end in kumbaya happy endings, right? As you're having these difficult conversations, keep those core values in mind and make sure they're in the forefront of the communication piece of this conversation. I need to always be right is probably not the top of your list, right? So don't worry about being right. Worry about what's important to you in these conversations. And for me, I listed those things earlier. I try really hard to pull pieces of those difficult conversations out that align with my values and that align with the goals of all parties. And when I have these difficult conversations, when I communicate, it's really important to me that I do so with those core values, because it keeps my vulnerabilities exactly where they are, intact and safe, because they're mine. And I can safely live in this space of being vulnerable without feeling shame, because I'm sticking to my values. So think about those core values you wrote down earlier this week. Take them into those vulnerable moments. And then next, take them into these difficult conversations that we just have to have every now and then. And keep them at the top of your list and forefront of your mind as you're communicating, because that is where you're going to live the most authentically. Okay? Keep living inside the vulnerable. Say goodbye to my puppy. She's busy learning because we're at school. So everybody take care. Make it a beautiful day. I'll see you later.